Welcome to Up to the Minute. It is Tuesday. It's November the 3rd. If you haven't heard, it's a huge day across this nation. Time for you to get out and vote if you haven't done so yet. You can't complain over the next several years if you don't get out and vote. Let your voice be heard. Today's the day to do so if you haven't early voted. We've got a great show lined up for you. We're going to talk about voting and some efforts that members of HCC have taken to get our students to register and vote. We'll get to our guests in just a moment. But first, I've got two co-hosts joining me today. Of course, Frank Cooper, wearing his gold and black HCC motifs. Good to see you, Frank. We're going to get you to unmute your microphone there, Frank.
What's going on, Todd? I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
We are good. It's a beautiful day out. Have you been outside yet, Frank?
I have not. I literally probably woke up 30 minutes before the show started, so I have not been outside just yet. But I will. That is the goal. I am going to go outside today.
Well, glad you could join us, Frank. Thanks for being here. Grab some coffee, stick around, because we're going to check in with you later on. Brittany Pacheco joining us at her home studio. Good morning, Brittany.
Hey, good morning, Todd. I don't have HCC black and gold on, but I do have corgis on my sleeve, or rather corgi butts.
Okay, well, that'll count. Yeah. Because your dog Luna is an unofficial mascot of the show and HCC, so we'll give you that.
Yeah, I agree. She definitely is a mascot here at my apartment. She is queen of the complex, but we're here to talk all things HCC and more importantly about voting, because like you said at the top of the show, it's a very important day for our nation. If you haven't early voted, you still have today to vote, to have your voice be heard. Let that voice be heard. And otherwise you won't be able to complain for the next, 4 years, just saying. Just like Todd said.
Yep, as we all do. Yeah, and Brittany, you really have to think of, don't be swayed. Go out and vote today. Leave the TV off. Okay, I'll give you that. Watch the show here, surf the internet. Don't really get into the political posts on social media, but get out and vote. It's your time to let your voice be heard today. So it's a very important day, Brittany.
Definitely. I mean, I've got lots of friends on social media who've been encouraging others to go vote. I've actually had friends who voted for the very first time in their life, and they're in their 30s just like me. So that's crazy in my opinion. But let's get into the show, Todd. But before I do, just a friendly reminder to everyone to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as our YouTube channel where you subscribe, hit that notification bell. You know the drill about that. But more importantly, to our audience, we need your help. We need your help to grow our audience, of course, but also just to share this information out to everyone who's not following HCC on social media nor watching this show. So hit that share button at the bottom of this post. That way it shows up on your personal news feed. And Todd, let's get into today's show because I'm so excited for our guests for this morning.
That's right. We've got some great guests this morning. One of them is the president of our Student Government Association, HCC Central. Please welcome Debra Yanus. Good morning, Deborah.
Good morning, Todd and Brittany. Thank you so much for having us today. We are excited for this very special Election Day show.
I know you've been very, very busy getting our students, encouraging them to register and vote. We're going to be back with you in a few minutes. So if you would stand by for a few. Want to start right now with a man you all know very well. He's all over the place on our social media. With Student Life, we've got Karl Mayes. Good morning, Karl.
Hey, Todd, I'm in here, man. Listen, just excited to be here, man. This is a long day awaited, man. We've been hearing about this probably since 2016. Now it is now that time, 2020. We've been waiting 4 years for this day. I know that sounds weird, but hey, let's just see what it's gonna be like. I think it's epic. I think it's exciting, and also, everybody. I think it's a lot of anxiety in the air.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to be here, brother.
Well, I talked with Janet May about this last week, and there's a such thing with voting election anxiety. You're seeing the ads, the political posts, Karl, and one thing I've really noticed, it's a shame because so many people out there are vicious in social media. Yes. Take a step back, I mean, we're all Americans here. Right. Doesn't matter who you vote for. That's what really bothers me is how you treat other people who vote the other way.
That's right. And I think the anxiety comes from a lot more than just the election. The time that we're in right now, just pin up emotions, not being able to navigate, your day the way you would normally navigate it. And then, and then the election itself, you know what I'm saying? I think that, there were some people I did an interview with not too long ago, and they were talking about some of the people having the anxiety because they still don't have a job. Their unemployment has depreciated. Something Congress hadn't passed. I'm not so far in that, but I kind of keep up with it a little bit.
Right.
And then the stimulus package that has been pushed back, almost 60 days. So, I mean, it's just so much going on, and people are just caught up, in this space where they feel like they can't go right or left. And I think at this particular moment today is almost like D-Day, decision day. Whether, whoever you vote for, the fact of the matter is they feel like change is of the essence.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is just to get out there and vote. Voting is a privilege.
Exactly.
We're allowed to freely do it in this country. And we got to look at other countries where they aren't allowed to vote. I know you guys have been very active in student life with getting our students registered, number one, because in order to vote, you have to register, but also not just register, but you guys have been doing Rock the Vote to get them out there to vote.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that it's a collective thing. And the biggest thing about it is, shout out to, Debra Yanus, who is president of the SGA at the Central Campus, but all of our SGA, they've been, combating being able to make sure they get students galvanized to be able to get registered to vote and to get out of here and vote. Now, here's the funny thing. I just read an article last night that talked about, students all across the country have gone out in record numbers. Right now, over 97 million people have voted, and definitely students make almost 11% of that. That's huge, So shout out to, our SGA, HCC's SGA, for doing just such a wonderful job at carrying that, that torch.
Well, and it also makes you proud to not only live in Texas, but in Harris County. I mean, we have surpassed numbers with record early voting here in Harris County. I know when I went the first day, it was so easy to do. There are locations all over the county, and they really had it down to where, and you really got to recognize the people who got out there and early voted, because you got to get your voice heard, and they make it easy for you these days.
Yeah. So I think that was, it's so much fear mongering out there that we didn't know what to expect. I went on the first day as well. And when I tell you smooth sailing, it was completely the opposite of what I psychologically thought from what I had heard was going to happen. So, shout out to all the people that are, volunteering at the polls. Very nice people that I met too, that were, welcoming, and then how we went in. And it was very fluid for me. I didn't take any time to get it knocked out.
Carl, I want to ask you about Student Life, because I know you guys have been very active virtually. You've posted a number of events here in our Facebook Live forum for the district's page. Tell us about being virtual and how challenging that can be, because usually you're used to having, I remember you have crawfish parties. You have parties for Mardi Gras. You have parties for Valentine's Day. Anytime for Carl to have a party. But now you guys are doing that virtually.
Yeah, we do a lot of programming, and we do a lot of, definitely fun aspects. I mean, some of it is up and down, but the biggest thing about it is, we've been able to reach a little bit more students than we normally would probably reach, first of all. And they've been very participative, in these particular virtual events. And, and it's weird because I always think about the psychology. I think students are a little bit more introverted than they probably would be, 15, 20 years ago anyway. And it's kind of like we've just went into their world. And they're coming out in record numbers. They're actually being very participative in, some of the online events. And it's real weird for myself because I'm such, a people person. I like tangibility. I like to be able to talk and touch a person, right? But knowing that we have, this virus out here that actually, makes us not be able to do that, we've had to be able to pivot. And that pivoting has been actually, we've been getting some really good numbers. We've been getting some really good outcomes. And I think that, when we move into the spring, if it all be, we start migrating back to campus, we're still going to keep like a piece of that and still do some things that, that we've done online and keep those aspects too.
I know the district, or I should say administration, has put in various learning options for our students for when we do return next semester. What do you guys have planned in the event that we can return and possibly have some events? What are you looking forward to doing once again?
Well, I think just being able to let students be jovial publicly. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a sense of euphoria that you cannot still get through this camera, right? I mean, we stay in the frame. Yeah, it has been, you know, a little bit easier to be able to do because it doesn't have us to get in the car, drive, put gas in, go get dressed. I mean, you know, all of that stuff, we just cut all of that in half, right? But I think that there's still this human element that is needed even from the student. You know what I'm saying? I got a house full of kids, right? And I see them. They can't concentrate on the computer. I look back right now because they're in there wrestling, right? And I'm like, aren't y'all supposed to be on the computer right now? I don't know, man. But I think it's just such a needed element, you know, from a human aspect that, you know, that's one of the things I think that, you know, we're ready to get back to too. And then we can't forget about being able to send out a text and then people can click on the link and possibly, let's say, Deborah and them are in person, but they're also having the element of being able to let students come in virtually into, you know, one of their general assemblies or something like that. So I think, you know, both worlds are going to peak out. I think it's going to be a great thing.
We're hoping so, Karl, and it would be good to see you in person, hopefully sooner rather than later. Thanks for joining us on the show. And, you know, you do great work, Karl. We look forward to seeing you again here soon.
So I want to make sure I tell you about, don't forget about tonight, Rock the Vote, you know, 6 to 7. We're going to have a great time. Okay. You know, a little bit of music, but we're also kind of just pushing people to let them know that, listen, this is your right. This is your voice. This is your vote. That is our biggest thing. And we want to make sure that you all have done it. You know, we know most of the students have, but at the end of the day, this is a celebratory thing before we get late into the evening to find out who are our next leaders of this country.
Yeah, so we're going to have the information for Rock the Boat in the social media post for the show. So tonight, make it your plan. Don't turn on the news. Turn on Karl with Rock
just
the
1
Boat.
hour, yeah, exactly.
Just 1 hour. You know, I'm just going to stay away from the TV tonight. I'll be watching some Netflix, maybe. That's about it. That's all I have planned. I really don't have any other plans. Karl, thanks for being here with us tonight.
You got it, man.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to Debra Yanus, our president of SGA. Good morning again, Deborah.
Good morning, Todd. Mr. Mayes always brings the life to the party. I love it.
He sure does. It's great to have Karl on the show. I want to ask you, Deborah, because I know you've been very busy. You recently hosted a 4-part webinar on social injustice. Very important subject over, especially this past summer. Maybe you can tell us about that.
Yes, well, it went great. We had a 4-part webinar series for the month of September known as the Social Injustice Awareness Month. We had the first webinar was Know Your Rights, and we partnered up with 8-8 Initiative, which were essentially the closest people to George Floyd. They played football with him, they grew up together, and we also met with the Houston Police Department, and they told us the do's and don'ts of when you get stopped by the police, things that people should know, all that good stuff. And then we also had a Lost 101 webinar, which we had the pleasure of having the Texas Criminal Department President, Mr. Grant Chenier there. It was incredible. We moved on to having the minority experience in America with professors from our very own HCC Central. Professor Melinda Mejia was also there. And then our very last webinar, which was Black Lives Matter, which was extremely relevant then and extremely relevant now.
Right.
And we had Brandon Mack from Black Lives Matter Houston tell us about what's going on, what it means, and the importance of it.
Deborah, when you were doing these webinars, if you could think of a reoccurring theme and questions that came up from students, what would those questions be, and what were some of the themes you were hearing from our students?
There was a lot of fear. If you go back, there was a lot of fear from our students because their social rights were in jeopardy at some point. You know, many feared getting stopped by the police. Many feared their voices being taken away, especially with this upcoming election. You know, the fear of not being able to vote was a really big one.
Well, you know, I remember, I'm not going to say which election because that'll date me too much, but when I was 18 in my freshman year of college, I did vote first, and it was a big deal on the college campuses. All of us went to go vote at the polls. Are you noticing that reaction with the students now? I know you've been working to get them registered to vote. Obviously, this is a very important election for our country, but are you noticing now more than ever that students are wanting to get out, register, and actually go vote?
Yes, I have, and it has been truly incredible. I had students reach out to me, tell me that this is their first time voting, and some students are over the age of 40, and they're like, "Hey, this was my first time voting. It was so exciting. The process was easy." Not only have we been focusing on registering students to vote, but we also have been working towards recruiting them as poll workers. So if you go to a polling station here in Houston, do not be surprised if you see an HCC student working there.
Absolutely. And tell us about the effort with Reclaim Our Vote. Maybe you can briefly go over that again, because I know that was a big thing for you as well.
Yes, we had our SJA officers, myself included, do a lot of phone banking throughout the week and over the weekend. This past week, the Reclaim Our Vote had a phone banking marathon, and we made sure that each one of our SJA officers was there at those events volunteering, just in efforts to call voters who have yet to vote, just to remind them, hey, election day is coming up, vote. If you haven't already, you can also vote early. And just getting people out to the polls, which was very important in our main initiative for this fall semester.
Have students been taking advantage of the early voting? Has that been a big thing for students? Because I know, as I mentioned to Karl earlier, the numbers here in Harris County are phenomenal with the number of people that took advantage of the early voting because it was so convenient for many.
They have, especially because HCC has about 5 polling stations,
Yep.
one which is a drive-through voting, and students have been enjoying that and being able to go back to campus, even if it is for voting. They found it really amazing.
If you could talk about the SGA, because I want to ask you, what are some of the things you guys have on your agenda that you're looking at going into the next semester? Some of the most important issues, if you could think of one or two that you're going to be discussing with your group and also with students, what would those be?
The first one would be mental health, especially now more than ever. We have to acknowledge the fact that during what's going on with the pandemic and the election, it has really impacted the mental health of many, especially our students who are not only dealing with student life, but also dealing with the world around them. So mental health is one of the biggest initiatives that we need to tackle over this upcoming semester. And as well as being civically engaged, volunteering, being part of the community, and just feeling like we're part of something really important.
You know, we're in very challenging times right now, unprecedented times, and we're not unsure times. We're not sure how things are going to go over the next few months, as some areas in the country, and I should say many areas in the country, are seeing a rise in COVID. Are students worried about not just COVID, but also the employment status? I mean, your community colleges are really here to move you on to another college or to get you trained to go into the workforce. Is employment a big concern of students right now, as many of us are working remotely and facing uncertain times?
It is. It really is. And one of the things that we want to do is be able to bring jobs to campus, whether that is internships within HCC or outside of HCC, because a lot of students are facing unemployment, and it's a constant worry. They not only do they have to attend their 8 a.m. classes, but they also have to be able to put food on their tables for their families and for themselves.
Yeah, and I know I know from a personal experience, because my daughter is probably close to your age, and she's a college student now at U of H, and she's facing a situation where even though she works in an industry, she works in the grocery industry, it's been booming, obviously, with everyone going to the grocery, especially during the lockdown, but now they're starting to cut her hours back because of the pandemic. They're bringing in cleaning crews overnight, and they're cutting back on some of the part-time hours. Obviously, that's a concern to many students, because I would imagine many of your peers and classmates may be underemployed or face situations like this.
And it's true, especially now that it seems that COVID cases are back on the rise again. Students are again facing their hours being cut. They're facing again being unemployed by the people that were employing them. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are challenging times for all of us. Going into next semester, are you feeling confident as a student of getting your goals and keeping your graduation date in line?
Yes, personally I am. I'm in my last class, so I'll be graduating this spring semester. Super excited. Awesome. And yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get to go back to campus, even if it is part virtual and part in person. I know a lot of students are looking forward to hopefully going back in campus, because going to college virtually is a challenge within itself. Not a lot of students learn to the best of their abilities virtually. They miss that interaction with another person.
And what are your plans personally when you finish your career at HCC?
Oh, I am down. I'm on my way to U of H. I'm super excited. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
And yeah, and hopefully go to law school. I've been wanting to. I recently changed my major to political science, and I just want to be in the community, involved in the community, and just help as much as I possibly can.
Would you be interested in a political career as well?
I think so. It would be really cool to take an office. I really look up to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I think she is an incredibly amazing, extraordinary congresswoman, and I would really love to follow in her footsteps.
Well, Debra Yanus, keep us in remember us when you get up there on Capitol Hill one day, okay?
Will do.
Thank you for being here this morning. Good luck next semester.
Thank you so much, Tyler Brittany.
All right. We're going to move on to Brittany and Frank going on our HCC news and information. Things you need to know to get you through this day. Of course, we keep going back to it, and we'll mention this one more time. Get out and vote. Frank, are you getting out today, or have you already been out voting?
I think Frank's a little preoccupied right now, but I can tell you for a fact that he has gone out and voted, just as I have, just as my husband. Frank, come join in this conversation and tell us about your
Frank,
voting.
are you around?
I am around. Yes, I voted.
Okay.
I voted 2 Fridays ago. I went that Thursday originally, but the line was so long at the high school next door. So after that, the next day I went to Smart Financial to vote. It took about an hour.
Yeah.
But it was I was glad to get it done because I knew today would be just bonkers. But yeah, I mean, there's a sense of accomplishment when you vote. You feel like you're doing your part, and I know people individually at a micro level feel like, oh, my vote doesn't matter. But if 5 million people feel like that, that's a 5 million vote difference.
That's a big
spectrum.
Deal. Yeah.
So it's very, very important to get out there and vote and have your voice heard.
And the best part about early voting, I don't know if it happens to you guys, but all the political texts stopped once I voted early. Mine stopped. I don't, they have you in the system, and I stopped getting all those texts. Hey, are you voting for so-and-so? No. Yeah. I stopped getting them right away.
No, I've actually been receiving more texts since I voted, which I think is strange, but I'm following in the footsteps of my husband and trolling these texters with a Star Wars lore. And someone actually responded. I thought it was hilarious about that. But anyway, I need a
sense of humor. They've got to have a sense of humor.
Oh, yeah, they did. They're like, oh, yeah, not really, familiar with Star Wars lore, but how can I help you with voting?
Yeah.
What's crazy is I lived in Tampa for a year in 2013, just for 1 year. And I still get text messages from Tampa about their local government, vote for Prop 17 or all that. I'm like, you've been Tampa for 7 years. Stop texting me.
They still got you on the list, Frank. Yeah. All right, so let's get to some news and announcements. Brittany, Project Homeworld, we've had the organizers on the show, and they've got something going on today as well, which is also very important, happening this afternoon.
Yeah, and these talks are being held to inspire student participation in this challenge. Obviously, we're here for our students to provide any and all engagement, especially during this time. So Project Homeworld Virtual Talks is happening today at 2 p.m. This is going to be with Jeff Reichman of January Advisors, Advocates, and he advocates the role of technology plays for social good through Sketch City, a community of over 2,700 technologists. Wow. To register, go to hccs.edu/homeworld.
And Frank, Darren Baskin, he's got a luncheon coming up, a lunch and learn coming up tomorrow.
Yes, it's a very powerful discussion about understanding and defeating unconscious bias. Topics will cover what is and what is not acceptable, including sexual harassment and discrimination. So that's tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Registration is required. Check your emails for more information regarding that.
And Darren Baskin, I should mention, by the way, on our faculty here and staff at HCC, but he's also the HCC Inclusion Fellow, and he'll be hosting that event. Rec Sports got an update. Are you interested in Rec Sports? Brittany certainly is, and I know she is usually there for all of their events.
Yeah, I don't know why you're lying to the people, Todd. That's just, I enjoy going to sports events, but yeah, I haven't been that, participative this year. But Rec Sports will have a virtual announcement about baseball, basketball, football, soccer, tennis, and volleyball. So though the decision on club sports for the spring has not yet been made, Rec Sports wants to gauge the interest among students. They will also give updates and get feedback from students about current virtual events. Now, this is happening Wednesday, which is tomorrow, November 4th, noon and or 4 p.m. Now, this is a Zoom event. Registration is therefore required. Go to check out their social media pages. You can go to at HCCS Athletics to click on their bio on their Instagram account, but we'll also include the web link to check out this event.
And we're winding down to the final days of our All In for HCC campaign. And this is a campaign of the 2020 faculty and staff campaign. It ends this Friday. Please take a second to give on behalf of our students facing financial challenges. It certainly is life-changing to have the funds to continue college, and you can help with that. Go to hccs.edu/allinforhcc. Hashtag it after you do, hashtag allinforhcc, to let everyone know that you've donated and remind everyone to donate as well. Frank, we're going to skip down to the Making the Grade, the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. They have something coming up as well.
Yes, so the super achieving HCC students, man, the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society, they have invitations for eligible students to join. So if you want to meet the following criteria and did not get one, however, contact Dr. Nicholas Rangel. The criteria is a minimum of 3.5 GPA, have completed at least 12 semester hours, and are enrolled in the semester. Semester invitation goes out, i.e. fall 2020. If you have any more questions regarding that, please contact Nicholas Rangel. All information will be at the bottom of this episode.
And the VPA is in the community, Brittany. Maggie Lasher's Distant is going to be shown, and it's through HCC's Visual and Performing Arts Center of Excellence.
Yeah, so the new film Distant is in the Frame by Frame Film Fest at the Center for Dance parking lot, now home to the Houston Ballet Drive-In. That's very cool. This is happening beginning this Thursday, November 5th, through December 5th, a whole month, at 7 p.m. So go to the Center for Dance. That's at 601 Preston Street. $10. That's it, $10. Check the link in this post below, or you can register by emailing Megan, megan.lasher@hccs.edu. Be sure, even though she goes by Maggie, the email is Megan.
And one thing I want to throw out there is it happening, I believe, a week from Friday, and I think I'm emceeing this event. It's the Virtual Ideas Pitch Competition. Houston area high school and college students can pitch a product or service on sustainability or societal needs. They have prizes of $1,000, $750, and $250. It's through HCC's Entrepreneurial Initiatives Office. Your deadline to register is November 13th. Actually, the event is November the 20th. To go for more information, you can visit hccs.edu/pitch. Deadline, once again, November 30th. The pitch competition, November 20th. We are almost running out of time. Want to remind everyone, our virtual lobbies available to all of our students. And if you have a question, simply go to our homepage and you can enter your question in. They'll answer it through an email, a Zoom, or a phone call. Brittany, tomorrow on the show, we're moving on to Wednesday.
Yeah, we are. So we're going to be joined by Dr. Jeff Greiker, Dean of HCC Coleman College for Health Sciences, who will join us to discuss how those programs are going both virtually and in person now that students are back on campus for their labs and clinicals. And also, Frank, it wouldn't be Wednesday if we weren't joined by our regular Wednesday guest.
Chief Greg Cunningham's going to grace us with the president, HCC police officer and extraordinary. He's going to talk about all the news going around the campus, all the latest regulations, procedures, put in place. So stay tuned for him tomorrow morning.
And he always has a great perspective. We love having the chief on the show. So Frank, Friday, we're going to talk sports. Okay. So be prepared for that. We'll get a little sports talk in. Brittany, you can join in on that as well, because we want to get your opinion.
I actually won't be here on Friday, Todd. I get to go do my annual eye exam. So I will be out of pocket and for the most part, probably, not being able to see.
Okay. Well, Brittany won't be here. Frank will be here on Friday. So we'll see him on Friday. Brittany, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being here, Frank. Tomorrow on the show, as we mentioned, we've got some great guests. We look forward to seeing you every morning right here, 10 a.m. live on Up to the Minute.